to our ballots. This is probably the first major revision we've had in over 10 years since we instituted optical scanning. And I brought with me tonight two samples. It is not just the vote by mail ballot that's going to change, it's the official machine ballot that will change, as well as the sample ballot in terms of color. But the major change, this is a English-only ballot on my left for Springfield, and on my right is a bilingual ballot from the city of Raway for the general election coming up in November. You will see the most significant change from our regular absentees is the orientation of the ballot. This is how our absentees in the past have been orientated, vertically. They're now going to be orientated horizontally, more in keeping with the machine ballot. The other big changes, if I can just point them out to you, are the color changes. As you know, this is the third year we've had the school board on the general election ballot. And we've noticed that there is a significant drop-off in voter participation from the general election vote to the school board vote. So what we did was we thought if we color-coded it, it might be more obvious that there's two sections to vote, and people might be more, ready to do that. The other thing we did on the absentee, which we cannot do on the machine ballot, is we increased the font size of the instructions. Very important. We can't do that on the machine ballot because we're constrained by statute of the font size there, but we could do it on this. And of course, this ballot changes depending on the year. So for example, you see this white space. With this white space, on the Springfield ballot, you have two people running for township committee. But in some towns, you have a mayor, you have 3 or 4 council people. So this will go down further. Or, in some instances, we have a question, a public question. So, in some instances, there may not be enough room to put the instructions on the front. They might have to go in the back. It will change depending on the type of election we have. Next year with the presidential, it might be very crowded, depending on the number of candidates. So the machine ballot will now be in 3 colors also, red, white, and blue. The sample ballot will be in 3 colors also, as well as this ballot. We're very excited about the changes. We think it's going to give more clarity and ease of voting to people. Questions?
Wilbur Serrata.
With everything that's going on today in our society, often, and you mentioned that we have bilingual ballots that we have, and what's the criteria in percentages as to what determines for us to have a specific district listed as one requiring another language?
It is a federal law, not a state law, not a local law, federal law that is based on a percentage of each district. So 10% or more of any district with names that are considered by the federal government, I'm not sure what the formula is, names that they consider to be Spanish or Portuguese, or in the case of Bergen County, Korean surnames. They have a program. So depending on what that program, that census says, they will designate a district as having necessity to be in that language. Bergen County, which has over 80 communities, must publish their ballot in English, Spanish, and Korean. Now, we have 428 districts in Union County. There are 5 towns in the county that are all English, like Springfield. There are other towns, approximately 8, that are all bilingual. The balance of the towns have certain districts which are designated to be bilingual, and only in those districts do I print the calendar bilingual. I don't do it for the whole town.
Back in the 1900s in Jersey City, there was numerous districts that were printed in German as well. So, there's a lot of history behind this, and it has nothing to do with what we're finding today as a backlash in terms of communities that are very much close amongst us and in large numbers. Thank you so much for that answer.
You're welcome.
Fielder, Mayor Bells.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joanne, so the people that are here might see this on TV and rebroadcast will get this information. How are you planning on publicizing the changes to the general public?
It will be up on our website, our county website. It will be on my app, my voter app, Union County Votes.
It's a great app.
I know, you got it.
I like the picture.
And it will also go out to the press tomorrow morning.
Good. Thank you, Joanne. Thank
Any
you.
questions? Fielder, Hudak.
Thank you, Chairman. Joanne, just in terms of, do we have any numbers statistically of, how many people are missing the Board of Education?
No, I did a small sample
Yeah.
last year, actually, because in some towns the drop-off was significant. So, for example, if you had 30% of the voters voting in the general, you might have the same amount that would vote in the school board election, 9 or 10%.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, I noticed in my town was and my expectation was going to be that, because the first year we did this was 2012, was a presidential year. It was an outlier a little bit because of Sandy, and, that did impact things. However, we were surprised that, people missed it or were confused in terms of the instructions. So have we looked at other counties and how they're addressing it? I mean, because I know the county clerks do get together. Is there, a working group on this, have a discussion? I mean, I imagine, it's a tricky thing for all of the counties that try to get this right.
I'll be honest with you, every county clerk that I know of designs their ballot differently. There's no
Sure.
uniform way. It's the clerk's discretion, but everyone's goal is to make it simple and easy. So, for example, our columns in the partisan election are A, B, C, D, E. We decided to put on the school board 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason for that is if you look down, some people might think, well, under number 1, is that the A column? And that's why we put that black bar across there. We didn't want to confuse a nonpartisan election with a political election.
Yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming from. And it's a tough, look, at the end of the day, it's all new, because we're doing these nonpartisan elections in November, we never have. We're doing Board of Education elections in November, we never have. It makes a tremendous amount of sense from a dollars and cents perspective, because we're not sending out staff and